The English language is the lingua franca of world business and international diplomacy. It is used for official business in the USA, the UK, the UN, the AU, the EU, and even the UAE. English is the closest we have to a global language, but is the English language alone enough to thrive in the global economy? Hello, hola, marhaban et bonjour. My name is Mark Edward Kouri. For the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the importance of foreign language education and why it matters for Americans to make language learning a priority. But before we go too much further, I have a short quiz to test your knowledge. What do you call someone who speaks 3 languages? That's right, trilingual. And what do you call someone who speaks 2 languages? You're 2 for 2. Bilingual is correct. And now for the final question. What do you call someone who speaks just 1 language? Right again. American! To many English speakers, the idea of learning a second language is silly. After all, everyone speaks English, right? Well, not really. Only 58% of Europeans in the EU speak a second language, which is not necessarily English. In India, which is considered an Anglophone country, only 12% of the population speaks English. In China, the number of English speakers is somewhere between 1 and 12% of the population, despite an obsession with learning the language. In fact, Mandarin is spoken by more people than any other language, followed by Spanish, with English coming in at 3rd place. Languages like Arabic, Spanish, and French are spoken in clusters of neighboring countries, which form cultural, linguistic, and economic trading blocs. So for most residents of many key regions of the planet, there's little incentive to learn English. The point is, the English language is not as widespread as is often perceived, so foreign language competency is still needed to navigate and conduct business in most parts of the world. Can you get by knowing only English? Maybe, just so long as you don't venture too far off the beaten track. Multilingual, polyglot, plurilingual? No matter what you call it, knowing more than 1 language leads to a richer life. I mean that literally. Foreign language skills are very marketable, and there is a growing shortage that puts America at a disadvantage as many jobs go unfilled or are filled by foreign workers. The shortage is so severe that it threatens our economy and even our national security, including our ability to compete in a high-skilled global marketplace. According to former U.S. Secretary of State Condoleeza Rice, Americans' failure to learn strategic languages, coupled with a lack of formal instruction about the history and cultures of the rest of the world, limits U.S. citizens' global awareness, cross-cultural competence, and the ability to assess situations and respond appropriately in an increasingly interconnected world. According to the U.S. Department of Labor estimates, by 2020 there will be 25,000 new interpreter positions needing to be filled across all industries. That growth in demand does not include the needs of the military, which also aggressively recruits linguists. In the government sector, Middle Eastern languages like Arabic, Farsi, and Pashto are in high demand, while private industry is in short supply of speakers of Asian languages, including Mandarin Chinese, Japanese, Hindi, and Bengali, as well as Scandinavian and other European languages, including Portuguese, German, and French. Becoming proficient in a foreign language can lead to profitable career opportunities. But being able to speak another language is about more than just money. Knowing foreign languages is enriching in other ways too. It helps in getting to know other peoples, their cultures, and even geography. If foreign language learning is so important, why is it that so few Americans can speak a second language? There is no simple answer. The deficit in foreign language skills in Americans can be attributed to several key factors, including misperceptions about the difficulty of learning, lack of priority of language education, and ineffective teaching methods. By reprioritizing and redesigning foreign language education to make it more effective and relevant, American students can graduate from grade school, high school, and beyond better prepared to enter the workforce, ready to participate and lead in an increasingly globalized economy. Globalization is here to stay, yet American students are graduating from high school unprepared for college and aren't being trained to compete in a global economy. American students lag behind over a dozen other countries in reading, civics, technology, math and science, and of course, foreign languages. According to former head of New York City Public Schools, and Condoleeza Rice's Council on Foreign Relations Task Force co-chair Joel Klein, educational failure puts the United States' future economic prosperity, global position, and physical safety at risk. U.S. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan draws a direct connection between foreign language competency and American prosperity and effective foreign relations. He states, "To prosper economically and to improve relations with other countries, Americans need to read, speak, and understand other languages." He couldn't be clearer. So what are we to do in a culture that puts little value on the need to know more than English at a time in which foreign language studies are in decline? The United States cannot remain competitive and secure without revising its education system to focus on the areas of study which are critical to modern global industry. This includes foreign language education, which is one vital area of study needing to be reprioritized, re-energized, and redesigned in order to help America remain a relevant leader in global commerce and foreign affairs. English is an important international language of global business and politics, but knowing other languages has great benefits. Learning language coincides with learning culture and geography. Both are areas in which American students could really use a boost. A study by National Geographic revealed that few American students can read a map or identify major countries on a map. That includes their own. Likewise, only 14% of those surveyed believe that speaking another language is an important skill. Consequently, the average American can be embarrassingly naive about his world. National Public Radio reports that far too many Americans don't realize that New Mexico is part of the United States. The mistake is so prevalent that New Mexico Magazine even has a monthly compilation of the 50 to 100 stories it receives each month, highlighting the challenge of many Americans to accept that New Mexico is indeed one of our 50 states. Knowing foreign languages wouldn't necessarily help New Mexico in its constant struggle to be recognized as a U.S. state by average Americans, but knowing others' languages does generally make language learners more culturally aware and geographically savvy. Foreign language knowledge also has other benefits. It cuts dependency on third-party interpreters and mitigates the risk of miscommunication through translation errors or omissions. This is especially important in business negotiations, diplomacy, security and foreign relations, and in just giving simple directions. One can also gather vital intelligence through interaction, observation, and listening to others speaking in a different language. So, is it possible to learn these foreign language skills which are so vital to our way of life? The short answer is yes, but we may have to rethink how we teach foreign language. Many linguists theorize that in puberty humans lose the ability to learn new languages with native fluency. But that is typically when we try to teach foreign languages in school in the U.S. That is, traditional institutional foreign language education in American schools begins in middle school, at the point at which humans begin to lose their ability to learn languages with native competence. Knowing this, it is not surprising that traditional American language instruction methods have not been too effective in producing multilingual adults. They miss the optimum developmental window for teaching language to children and then bore students with grammar and vocabulary drills and seemingly endless memorization. Linguists know that these methods don't work on humans, yet languages continue to be taught in this manner that is bound to fail. Children don't learn language by memorizing grammatical rules or vocabulary lists. They learn to communicate in stages that include nonverbal, single word, two-word, and multi-word stages. Early in life, they begin to recognize patterns, sounds, and syllables. By around 18 months old, they've begun experimenting with language by stringing words together to form and express verbal ideas. This is remarkable. Noted linguist and MIT professor Noam Chomsky postulates that children have innate linguistic capabilities that include grammatical rules hardwired into the brain. In fact, children can learn and compartmentalize multiple languages if taught before puberty. This built-in language acquisition device, or LAD, allows children to compartmentalize, sort, and create new expressions using correct parts of speech, syntax, and grammar. According to Chomsky, it applies to all human languages too. Children build on their innate linguistic capabilities through exposure to language in social settings and their experimentation with language. Recognizing the innate abilities and the limitations of human language acquisition should give us some clues as to what teaching methods may work and which are doomed to fail. If Chomsky and the other linguists are correct about how humans acquire languages and the critical timing of language acquisition, then language learning should start in preschool. In the same way we learned our mother tongues as infants, during the early years of learning, the focus should be on experimentation in verbal communication and free expression without focus on technical precision. Fluency and technical precision are less important than being able to understand and to be understood. Learning at this stage should be based on social interaction in the target language with other children and adults, with no penalties and only praise for experimentation. Reading, writing, and grammar proficiency can be learned later on in school, just as we learn to read and write our mother tongues. If we are ever going to be effective in teaching functional foreign language competencies, the timing and the methods used to teach foreign language must change to take advantage of our natural predisposition to acquire language in early childhood. If Rice, Klein, and Duncan are correct about the critical need for foreign languages to support industry, security, and foreign affairs, then foreign language training also should become a national priority and required learning in the same manner that mathematics, science, technology, and English are required learning. By making foreign language education effective, before too long we could see a new generation of globalists ready to take on the challenges of competing in a shrinking world. The United States has citizens from around the globe, so there's no reason why foreign language learning in the U.S. should lag behind that of other nations. And with globalization here to stay, being effective internationally is imperative to remaining competitive in business and leading on the political stage. This will be done in part by gaining proficiencies in key languages that give the advantage back to the American worker, the most sought after in the world. Thank you for listening.